Hello my loves, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Seema. I talk about all things self-help, self-mastery, science, spirituality, energy, alignment, feminine energy, getting your bag, self-mastery, if I didn't mention that before, and energy overall, as well as my personal experience with finding God and doing a lot of inner work. So today's video is actually going to be about the latter. I wanted to discuss the inner work that I have personally done on myself in the past few years and what I have learned and how it has helped me grow into the woman that I am today, because a few years ago I was extremely depressed, insecure, didn't really have that much faith in God, just kind of like building things on my own, isolating myself from friends and family, and just like basically having no stability emotionally. And so in this video, I wanted to take the time to tell you how I found emotional stability, how I managed to heal my heart, and how I have benefited from all the inner work that I have done to take me from somebody that was broke physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, to the complete opposite in just a few years. So let's dive right into it, and I do have some notes on my phone for this video. So the first thing that I did in order to completely shift my mentality around myself and my potential was to recognize all of the flaws and things that I felt were not perfect about myself. So when I began to really accept the things that I didn't like about myself, such as like physically the things that I was insecure about, financially the things that I didn't like that I was doing, so like my financial habits, my habits with interpersonal relationships and the way that I acted towards myself and others, I saw patterns that I didn't like in all of these spheres. So instead of like attacking them, what I did was I first accepted them and I said, okay, I can improve here and here and here, and this is how, and this is how, and this is how. And I gave myself grace and I accepted all of the flaws about myself that I both could and couldn't change. And the things that I could change, I changed. And I made it a point to write down what I was going to do instead. And just by following a specific protocol that I had set for myself, I changed my financial habits, I changed my mental patternings around like the way that I would talk to myself and the way that I thought about myself and other people. I examined my mindsets really, really in depth, and I did this through journaling practices, and meditation is the way that I actually went about changing them. So I would just write down all the things that I didn't like and all the things that I wanted to implement instead, and I just followed that strategy. I also got very, very specific when it came to wanting to heal myself in these avenues. So I would ask God and essentially take God's instruction towards basically allowing him to heal me in all these different areas. So when it came to my own personal insecurity, I found love in myself through God. It was through God that I actually began to love the body that I have and the face that I have and my voice and all these things, because he showed me, like, prayer and connecting with him showed me that I am unconditionally loved and accepted, and I don't need to fit a certain standard or a certain criteria in order to be loved and accepted. And I don't need to look like every single other Instagram model. I don't need to look like every other coach or have the same framework as every other business owner. I can just be myself in every wild and wonderful way that I am, and that is more than enough. That is exactly the perfect recipe that I need in order to continue going, whether personally or professionally. So that's what God taught me and showed me, and he really helped me work on all of the flaws that I had. He helped me to curb my spending habits as well, and I wanted to change. I wanted to heal myself in all ways, financially, like I said, physically, emotionally, mentally, and with my relationships with myself and others. So because I wanted to heal and I was dedicated to doing this inner work, that's what made it happen. It was consistency and dedication to following the plan that I had set out and the plan that God and I had decided on for myself in each of these avenues. So that's the first point that I wanted to discuss when it came to the inner work that I did. And I also learned that, God made us perfectly. I was taught that God made all of us perfectly, and that's the truth. And it has to be the truth because that comes from God. That awareness of self comes from God. That, okay, like there are no mistakes and no accidents. Our Creator is omniscient, He's all knowing, and He does not ever like want any of us to fall in any way or feel badly about ourselves or be insecure. And so that's what I learned, that, you know, like all of these things are ultimately like just kind of wasting our precious time that He's given us, instead of using this time to build on ourselves and to create and to love and worship ourselves and others, the soul within ourselves and others. Like instead we are like being mesmerized by like the external reality. Like it just doesn't make sense, you know? So that's what God taught me. The second point that I really worked on when it came to doing inner work on myself was to stop judging and to stop picking myself apart. And literally, like, I was my biggest hater for the longest time when it came to anything that I did. So I had to work really hard on not doing that, especially because I was in the process of building a business and content creating, which I'm still doing all the time. And so I had to completely rewire how I felt about myself and understand that like this notion of self-hate and this notion of like wanting to be perfect comes from a broken society that is absent from God. You know, like God will never judge you for your interests or for the way that you speak or for like the little nuances about you. He loves you unconditionally. And this is present, this truth is present within all things that reflect Him easily, such as nature, which is always like accepting of itself and in flow and in flux. And like other representations of God show us that unconditional love abounds, such as like a mother's love for her child, and just the way that like the sun rises and sets every day. Like God cannot be denied, you know, and God's love cannot be denied, and so God's love for us cannot be denied. And so that's what I learned, that you know, I was my own biggest hater, and if I really wanted to help myself and other people, then I couldn't be doing that anymore. So that's the second thing that I completely rewired with God's help. The third thing was that I started really embracing the things about myself that made me unique, and I stopped trying to be a people pleaser. I grew up literally being a people pleaser to such a high degree because it was ingrained within me from childhood. And so it was all I knew how to do, was to mask and to try to fit this mold that other people set for me in order to sustain relationships and to like make them happy. And so that's what I was doing for the majority of my life, and it left me really, really lonely because I wasn't able to be my true self around people, and they were not able to love me, the real me, because I wasn't showing them who I really was. And then I also eventually would come to like resent certain relationships because I had to always be performative for them, you know? And so I stopped people pleasing when I worked very closely with God to heal this aspect within myself. Because I was taught that I am enough and that I don't need to perform in a certain way to be accepted by God, I learned that it's the same thing for human beings too, and it applies to my interpersonal relationships, and that I could just be myself even in business settings. And so that helped me be myself fully and express myself as I really am. And so that's when loving relationships came into my life, and that's when I started appreciating myself and other people fully and openly and honestly. And there was like no need to perform anymore. There was like no need to hide who I really was anymore. I could just like be myself, which is like the most freeing thing in the entire world. It's more freeing than having a lot of money. Like it's more freeing than like literally anything. Like relationships that are loving and open and honest are the point of life, you know, because even when you have money, which is just another commodity of God's, you still want like interpersonal relationships to grow with you and to like share things with and stuff like that. So and like love is the point of life, and we reflect God's love for us in our relationships with other people, you know. And so that's what I really was awakened to, that oh my God, okay, I actually can have fulfilling relationships in which I don't have to perform. And it was like a huge realization for me that for a long time I didn't even know if it was okay, or I didn't even think it was okay, or I didn't know how to do it, you know? And so I had to do a lot of subconscious rewiring on how to stop being a people pleaser and how to first please myself autonomously. And I made a lot of lifestyle changes to like make that mindset solidify. So I actually cut out a lot of like relationships and habits and other things in my life that would like kind of egg on the people pleasing. And instead I started from ground zero. I even made like a new Instagram account because I was like, I need to start fresh with my life, you know? So that was the third point of inner work that I really worked on with God's help. So the fourth one was that I allowed myself to be vulnerable with others. And this kind of ties back into the third point. So I allowed myself to be vulnerable with other people. And I allowed myself to, like, for the first time, be unashamed to, like, feel seen and to be vulnerable with, like, what I was going through and, like, what I was feeling and what I was facing. And that allowed for my relationships to flourish as well because, again, I wasn't hiding who I am and I wasn't masking just to like please other people, and I was able to like understand that vulnerability is the point of life. Like literally we teach from the clarity of our example. Like words don't teach, but me telling you my personal experience and my personal story and being vulnerable with you is more intimate and it's more connective than if I were to just like sit here and like lecture you, which I also really enjoy doing. You know? So that's the fourth point of how God helped me with doing a lot of inner work on myself so that I can become the person that I am today. I also healed my relationship with my mind and my body, and I regulated my nervous system. So I learned how to do it holistically. I learned the importance of consistent sleep and consistent eating habits, and I just changed my health habits overall. And so that environmental change that was like mostly external and a little internal as well completely shifted my mindset on life. Like instead of being depressed and feeling like I needed to always catch up to feeling good and like using like outside things to like feel good, I was able to generate bliss from the inside and like joy from the inside through consistent sleeping patterns, eating patterns, meditation practices, and like incorporating supplements into my diet, incorporating like lots and lots of like vegetables and life-giving foods into my diet. And it completely changed the way that I saw myself in the world and life, and it really boosted my energy levels. And I'm a firm believer that consistency with this specific point can lead to DNA shifts. Like I have seen that I'm more healthy now in like lots of ways. Like I always have natural energy. I like sleep very well. I have like pretty much no stress in my life. Like I've figured out ways to like completely mitigate stress. Like stress management is not just about managing your stress, it's about removing it, and we don't need to be stressed out in our life, and that's also what this taught me. So that's how God helped me as well when it came to that point of inner work. And lastly, I forgave myself and other people. When it came to literally everything in my life, I learned that there's actually no point to not forgiving myself and other people at the same time. And I started by forgiving myself because it was easier to do that. And then I realized that other people were just like playing their role in certain situations, and they are more deserving of my forgiveness, if not equally. So like I took the time to really work on forgiving myself fully. A lot of tears were shed, and a lot of like days passed by, but I managed to fully forgive myself and other people for certain things that had happened in my life that I was really holding on to still, and I didn't even realize it, but it was actually like causing trauma for me, inadvertently, you know. So I sat with God and he worked on my heart, and I was able to open my heart once more to loving myself fully and unconditionally, and holding space for myself and holding space for other people and for their actions, and coming from a place of unconditional love and understanding for them, you know. That changed my life as well, because I noticed that I felt more light, I felt more joy, I felt more of a need to like live from my heart and to serve people in ways that I could. I felt like I just really wanted to give to others. I felt like I wanted to, just like pretty much have like relationships with like anybody that I could, because I just had so much love in my heart for people. And so that completely changed the way that I saw like relationships as well, because I realized that like we attract circumstances and people into our life, and we are always attracting like a reflection of ourselves. So when it comes to forgiving in any way, you should forgive both yourself and others, because both of you are worthy of your forgiveness. Like God always forgives. So who are we to not? Like who are we to judge ourselves? Who are we to judge another? We can't. We don't have the authority to do so. Even God, who has the authority to do so, is so merciful that he will never hold a grudge against you. That's why when you repent, when you go to God, and when you actually like ask for his forgiveness, and you surrender yourself to him, and you surrender your heart to him, and you invite him into your heart, and you open up to him, he will work on you so well, and he will heal you so deeply that you can actually take this healing and give it to another person that may need it as well. And so like also, often enough, other people don't forgive themselves. They don't do this type of work, maybe. So if you can be a beacon of love in this way, and openness and forgiveness, then other people can benefit from your existence and from your life and from your energy and from your connection to God. So that's what I learned. I learned the importance of forgiving. I learned the importance of preserving the love that we so inherently already have within us. And yeah, this is also what changed my life completely and allowed for me to really do a lot of inner work to become the person that I am today. And this is like just a few points that I wanted to touch on when it came to my personal healing journey. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to comment down below what your favorite part of this video was and whether you can relate to any of it or not. I'd love to see your responses, and I'll be reading them. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more. I love you guys so much. Wishing you all of the love and God will and success, both spiritual and material, both inner and outer in your life. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.